Shalom, Royal Family. The class you are about to hear is taught by the Honorable Yudhe Beit Nun Sophie Yudhe many years ago. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Visit us at www.yahweh144000.com. Also, Royal Family, you can enroll in classes designed for the Godhead at www.universityofyahweh.org. And also, Royal Family and friends, we want to share with you Yahweh's Keys to Riches. And on that YouTube channel, you can listen to Yahweh's daily word and keep up with the correct solar time each and every day. We'd like to see you there as well. Go to Yahweh's Keys to Riches. It's in the description below so that you can join us there as well. Remember, when you get there, just like here, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channels. All right, Royal Family, we look forward to seeing you there as well. Enjoy.
We know for a fact that the people of today continue to eat from the words and the philosophies of the grafted tree of good and evil, which is hurtful. And as a result, all who eat from this grafted tree of good and evil hurt people. They don't have any other concept in life but to hurt people. And that's a very bad thing to do, hurt people. But yet that's what happens when you eat the words from the grafted tree of good and evil. It is a fact that the grafted tree of good and evil is mischievous. You can't get around that reality. That's what it is. It's plain mischievous. So all who eat it become very mischievous persons, very mischievous people. So we have a world full of mischievous people. As I was saying, people continue to eat from the words and philosophies of the grafted tree of good and evil to this very day, which is detrimental. This tree of good and evil is absolutely detrimental. Therefore, every single soul who eats from this tree of good and evil becomes detrimental to himself, to his family, to his husband and wife and children, and to the community at large. He has no other choice because this is all he consumes are detrimental thoughts and ideas and concepts. Also, anyone who eats from the tree of good and evil becomes deleterious because this tree is deleterious. All who eat from the tree of good and evil become baleful because the tree itself is baleful. And that's what we must come to know and understand very carefully. We read where Adam and Eve fell. Adam fell. To fall means that you were in one position and you have dropped to a low position, from a position of high to a position of low. And that's what this tree is, the tree of good and evil. It is a felled tree, and anyone who partakes of it falls. The grafted tree of good and evil is pestilentio. and all who eat of it become pestilential. Also, the tree of good and evil is pestiferous, pestiferous, and automatically, all who eat of this tree of good and evil themselves become pestiferous. Also, this grafted tree of good and evil is noxious. You know how some people are noxious? Well, that's why they're noxious, because this is the only tree that we have available for us to eat, is the grafted tree of good and evil. Also, the tree of good and evil is malicious. And whenever you encounter a malicious person, then you are a witness as to why they're malicious. It doesn't matter what they're hearing and reading and studying. The world is full of malicious people because they're eating from the tree of good and evil. Also, the tree of good and evil is menacing. All who eat from the tree of good and evil become a menace to society. They're a menace to their family. They're a menace to the world. The tree of good and evil is malignant. All who eat from the tree of good and evil become like a malignancy. Absolutely malignant. So we are a witness that today people are continuing to eat from the words of the tree of good and evil. Those philosophies and ideas. As I was saying, the tree of good and evil is a nature of malign. And anyone who eats those words and philosophies from the tree of good and evil malign the character of other people. They get a joy out of maligning the character of others. The tree of good and evil is venomous. Itself is just venomous. So all who eat from the tree of good and evil become venomous. They show an attitude, a venomous attitude in all the people that they meet. They become venomous toward them instead of showing a spirit of love. Also, the tree of good and evil is virulent. Virulent. Very virulent. And all who eat of it become virulent. The tree of good and evil is baneful. And all who eat from the tree of good and evil become baneful. The words and philosophies from the tree of good and evil are toxic. And therefore all who eat from the tree and have been eating from the tree of good and evil for the last 6,000 years or 5,996 years are also toxic. The tree of good and evil is mephitic. Mephitic. M-E-P-H-I-T-I-C. And all who eat it are the same. The tree of good and evil is viperous. So that's why we see so many vipers running around on the earth today. They have this type of attitude in life, a viperous mentality. The tree of good and evil is poisonous. So all who eat from it are poisoned. Adam was poisoned. Eve was poisoned first. And then Adam became poisoned from eating from the tree of good and evil. And that's why you have the poisoned mentality that you see in the earth today. The tree of good and evil is destructive. By its nature, its creation is destructive. And that is why Adam was given the instruction in the Bible not to eat from this tree, knowing it was destructive, and that was a commandment given to him, but he disobeyed anyway. And therefore, he and his descendants became very destructive. The tree of good and evil is ruinous, and all who eat from it are ruinous. They ruin everything. They ruin the atmosphere, they ruin the food that we eat, ruin the rivers, the lakes, and even the ocean, the water that we drink. The tree of good and evil is damaging. So all who eat from the tree of good and evil have a damaging philosophy, a damaging mentality. And whatever they're in charge of, they damage. Also, tree of good and evil is unfortunate. And so therefore all who eat from it become very unfortunate. It's a very unfortunate world today. The tree of good and evil is unlucky. So the people of the world are unlucky. They demonstrate all that they do as being unlucky. The country is in an unlucky type situation today because of nothing but the tree of good and evil being available to the people. The tree of good and evil is unpropitious, and the people are unpropitious all over the earth. The tree of good and evil is unpromising, and all who eat from the tree of good and evil are unpromising. They don't feel that there is really promises of good for them and their children today. The people of the world today are infelicitous, because the tree of good and evil is infelicitous. And, of course, the tree of good and evil is adverse. So the world today is in an adverse situation. The people feel adversely. Everything is adverse to their welfare and their good, because the tree of good and evil is adverse. Also, the population of the earth is inimical, because they're eating from the tree of good and evil, which is inimical. And of course, we see illness everywhere on the earth today, because the tree of good and evil is ill. So the people are ill. People can know what will be bad for their health, and they will still eat it. They will still consume things that they know is bad for them, because they don't have the knowledge to do differently. The people of the world today are unhappy, and you're witness that they're unhappy. People are seeking happiness wherever they go. Why are they so unhappy? Because they're eating from the tree of unhappiness, which is the tree of good and evil. And this tree is also woeful, and the people are full of woe. Families are full of woe. Children are full of woe. Also, the world today is experiencing one disaster after another. And most of these disasters are brought on by man. Why? Because they eat from the tree of disaster, the tree of good and evil, that man was warned not to touch in the Garden of Eden. The people of the world today are calamitous, because they eat from a calamitous tree. They eat calamity 24 hours a day from the tree of good and evil. We notice one catastrophic situation after another, one cataclysmic experience after another, all over the earth. Catastrophe and cataclysm. Why? Because the tree of good and evil is catastrophic and cataclysmic. There's no question about that. There's no way to get around it. Now you know the reality as to why the catastrophes and the cataclysm. The tree of good and evil is irascible, so the people are irascible. Have you ever noticed how people are so irritable today? Everybody is irritated. It's because the tree of good and evil is irritable. Why is it that the education we receive does not give us great satisfaction? Why are we irritated? Irritated on a job, irritated at home, irritated wherever we go. It's because the tree of good and evil is an irritable tree. Also, the tree of good and evil is petulant, so the people are petulant. The tree of good and evil is cross, so the people are not just cross-eyed, but their minds cross. They just walk around cross all the time, upset. You can't deny that the tree of good and evil is testy, real testy. So the people are real testy today, and you look around and see a whole lot of ill-natured people. And what's the reason for the ill-natured condition? Because the tree of good and evil is ill-natured. The tree of good and evil is ill-tempered. So people are ill-tempered today. And you can see it all around you, wherever you go. Just a bunch of ill-tempered people. Also, you notice people are very cantankerous, extremely cantankerous. They're crabby and sour. And that's because the tree of good and evil is cantankerous. It's crabby. It is sour. The people today, you notice them, they are morose, they're sulky, very surly. Wherever you look around, that's the attitude of people. They're surly, sulky, and morose. And they're very depressing to you. And it's because they eat from the tree of good and evil. That the tree of good and evil itself is morose, salty, and surly. You see, vice, wherever you go, vice, 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 vice. They even had a television series called Miami Vice. Where do these ideas come from? Come from the tree of good and evil, because it itself is vice. We notice improbity, impropriety. And the reason we have impropriety is because the tree of good and evil is impropriety. Sin everywhere, sin. The breaking of the law, statutes, judgments, and commandments of Almighty God, Yahweh. Why? Because the tree of good and evil itself is sin. The tree of good and evil is viciousness. So the people that eat from this tree, and the whole earth is eating from it, according to Revelation 12:9, just vicious people all over the earth. They're doing vicious things to each other. Vicious wars, vicious mistreatment, man's inhumanity to man. All comes from eating from the tree of good and evil, which is vicious. You see ignominy everywhere, because the tree of good and evil is ignominy. Ignominy itself. Therefore, people are like that. The tree of good and evil is just a disgrace, a natural disgrace. So people today are doing disgraceful things, and you can't ignore that reality. That they're just a bunch of disgraceful people. Our people are especially disgraceful. They have no shame in what they do. Also, our people are full of infamy, because they're eating from the tree of good and evil, which is infamy. It's an infamous tree. And so it's only natural that those who eat from it are full of atrocities. Wherever you look in the world today, it's one atrocity after another. They're doing very atrocious things. People are committing atrocious crimes. And you wonder, people say all the time, what is the world coming to? Well, it's been this way for 5,996 years, because they have been eating the fruits of atrocities, which are atrocious, is another word for that. And we can notice that people are just walking around in outrage, doing outrageous things, because the tree of good and evil itself is outrage. That's what it is. There's no way to get around that. It is outrageous. Outrageous. And then you see wrongdoing everywhere. People just doing wrong. Children are wrongdoing, man. From little fellas, they're doing wrong. And they're not given choices of right doing right. Because all of their images are those of wrongdoing. Where does it come from? The tree of good and evil. It's not from any place else, but the tree of good and evil. Where there's a little good around, that the evil overrides all of that good that people are able to see. Wrongdoing just takes over, overrides it. And that's just a fact. And since it is a fact, we have to live with that reality until people start eating from the tree of life, which has not been available for 5,996 years. It has not been available. So what do we have? Felonious behavior. People are displaying felonious behavior day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out. It goes on for years, hundreds of years, thousands of years now. Felonious behavior. And you might ask why. Where did this start? It started in the Garden of Eden, for Adam and Eve, because they ate from the tree of feloniousness. And that's the result. Also, the tree of good and evil is a tree of treachery. So that's why you have people who are treacherous one toward another, and doing treacherous keeps the police very busy because someone is always guilty of foul play. It's rare to get such ideas. All on television, in books, fiction. These ideas of foul play come from the tree of good and evil. That's what that's about. We look at children who are delinquent. They have what they classify today as juvenile delinquency. They have all of these juvenile institutions all over the country. Can we ask, well, why is it necessary to have juvenile delinquency institutions? It's because they're eating words and philosophies of delinquency itself, which emanate from the tree of good and evil. It is a tree of delinquency. Also, another thing is debauchery. Debauchery is everywhere. I saw a movie just 2 or 3 nights ago, On for an Hour, and this movie showed debauchery. It was called Greek mythology, and in the Greek mythology, they showed terrible things for 1 full hour. Nothing but depravity, really. Absolute depravity. They showed turpitude. They showed degradation. They showed degeneracy. All on this movie for 1 full hour. Complete nudity between adults and children. And even greyhound dogs. I mean, you actually sit there and see that. It happened. And the room was full watching that. You wonder why people have those ideas? It's demonstrated as a part of culture. And that all comes from the tree of good and evil. That's where it comes from. So when we see acts of depravity, we see lewdness out in the open. It's right in the movies these days. Some call it pornography. Others call it freedom of press, or all kinds of books and magazines and stories and ideas that are written directly from the tree of good and evil. And all of this comes from the tree of good and evil. So when we see lasciviousness, where do you think lasciviousness comes from? Where does licentiousness come from? It comes from the tree of good and evil. Lasciviousness comes from the tree of good and evil. Licentiousness comes from the tree of good and evil. Where it's a license to do anything, lust is worship. Why is lust worship? Even when we look at the Garden of Eden, when Adam and Eve hid themselves, it gave you an idea of what the tree of good and evil produced, because they immediately started talking about being naked, and they needed to cover their nakedness. So this is a very clear indication and understanding of what we are dealing with when we eat from the tree of good and evil. The tree of good and evil is solicity, or salacity, whichever way you want to say it. And it's because we have been, I guess you spell it salacity, salacity. That comes from the tree of good and evil. That's what kind of tree that is. And we have to understand that that's what kind of tree that is. Also, prurience is another word that comes from the philosophy of the tree of good and evil. Prurience. So we have people who are like that. We also have people that are just wanton. And usually wantonness is ascribed to the female. But the men are demonstrating the same characteristics and attitudes that the females exhibit. They all go together because we all eat from the same tree of good and evil, and that's what that brings on. Also, carnality. That's a word we're not taught in school, but yet that's a mindset of people all over here, a carnal mindset, earthly mindset. Where does it come from? It comes from the tree of good and evil. That's where it comes from. And we have to understand that that's where it comes from, and that that's what it promotes, carnality. The entire educational system is one of carnality. Also, the tree of good and evil is one of unchastity. So our girls are unchaste. Why? because all they eat are words and philosophies of unchastity from the tree of good and evil. That's the way it is. We have to understand that. Have you ever noticed the promiscuity running around? Everybody's promiscuous. They wonder where AIDS are coming from. How do they have AIDS? And they discuss promiscuity as if AIDS is the only disease. When in reality, every communicable and sociable disease, sexually transmitted disease known to man, is running rampant through promiscuity. So where does this promiscuity come from? First of all, it comes from the Garden of Eden, eating the tree of good and evil. Because Eve had a intercourse with two men, one Lucifer and then Adam. And since she was the mother of all living, she's the mother of Lucifer's son Cain, as well as Adam's son, Abel and Seth. So again, this promiscuity is old. It's very old. In fact, the laws of Yahweh are clearly pronounced in the Word because of this reality. Our people playing the whore and being promiscuous. And that's because the truth is promiscuous. Also, you see concupiscence throughout the earth, concupiscence. Why? Because the tree of good and evil is concupiscence. We also see perversity, a whole bunch of perverts, by definition, by dictionary definition, pervert. And where does all this perversion come from? It comes from the tree of good and evil, perversion. And that's where it is, where it's taught. Like the movie I referred to earlier of the Greek mythology. They demonstrated nothing but perversion. Changing little boys over from age 5 to be homosexual. They're not born with that. They're being perverted by thought, by ideas. Also, another thing that is rampant in the land and in the earth is bestiality. They even have movies of bestiality. The tree of good and evil is a tree of bestiality itself. That's the very nature of that tree. And what are some of the understandings of bestiality? First of all, these philosophies and ideas teach you from a child to be brutal. And when you watch television, whether it's the Three Stooges or all the cartoons, the Road Runner or whatever you're watching, it's brutal and brutality. It's always wars and antagonism. You cut the television on and cut the sound down, all you see is anger on the faces of people, or the faces of the cartoon characters. Just anger, 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 anger. And it's sort of refreshing to see some of the Walt Disney movies compared to what you see. And that's why they have such a great turnout, I believe, is because they have less violence and less bestiality being shown in those particular movies. Bestiality also produces an inhuman type person. Inhuman. That's where you have your inhumanity to man, is from eating the philosophies and the words of inhuman ideas. Also, bestiality means to be without reason, without intelligence. And just look at what the public schools are producing today, is illiteracy. Functional illiteracy. You have clearly 40 million people in this country who can't fill out a employment slip. They're functionally illiterate. They can't follow directions.